Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, everyone. I really appreciate people being on live. It makes it like more exciting and real for me, so to speak. But I will share this recording too, especially as I'm moving into this Desbio shop. So Desbio is a really great brand, so I'm excited to be moving into them, and they have a lot of products, over 400, but it can be a lot to navigate. So I want to just kind of orient you a little bit. Desbio is a company that is 70% homeopathic. So there are herbals and some nutrition type products, and we'll find a few of those as we go. Um, but yeah, if you're not that familiar with homeopathy and what it can do and how it works, I'm here for that. And there's some things about their approach that is a little different or a little more unique to homeopathy. So I'm just super excited to share it with you. So most of you probably know me from if you're on my newsletter, you probably know a bit about me and my story. I think I'll add here my story about Desbio. So, I'm somewhat familiar with homeopathy. I've used it in a few different contexts. I've gotten a constitutional remedy a couple times. I'm not a homeopath per se, but I'm familiar. The company Desbio is about 30 years old, and it's out of Utah. It was originally a company that was doing kind of mineral salt products, cell salts, and electrolytes from the Great Salt Lake. And then I don't know what year or time that it started becoming a homeopathy company as well. Um, but it's a big company and it's well established, especially around like pathogen eradication. And my friend is actually the marketing director, and she has been for a couple years. And I just didn't really still get what the company was all about. And, it kind of like why I'm presenting here is because I just didn't really even know where to start with it. But they had a conference in Phoenix this past spring, and I went, and it just changed my whole um, feeling about my work. And I was just really kind of burned out. And I don't think I realized I was a bit burned out of the functional medicine model being pretty linear and pretty expensive and just kind of heavy. And when I got acquainted with Desbio, I was just really impressed by how community oriented it was and how holistic it was and how progressive it was, but still really staying with like nature and the importance of community and connection. And it just really changed my trajectory of where I wanted to go with my own practice because I think I saw for the first time sort of what was missing for me. So I started my career as an acupuncturist in a very holistic modality. So I feel like there's a bit of a coming back for me, which is super exciting. And I think it will be exciting for you all as well. Let's see. So yes, I recently moved to my shop, being a Desk Bio shop. So as you get to know it, just there's like a global sale going on now for it. A couple more things coming up are our toxic mold practitioner training is coming back soon in a week or two here. Some other practitioner resources will be coming up in September. And then probably in early October, we'll have a coaching program, my first like low cost group coaching, where you could come in and ask some questions about your own protocol and not have to kind of have that more expensive one-on-one experience. So those are a few things coming up. Just a little disclaimer here that this particular talk is for education. And we'll get going here. So, what is homeopathy? It's a system of natural medicine based on like cures like, where we're using different substances in dilution for a healing response. So, there can be sometimes a mix up between the word holistic and homeopathic. I've noticed holistic is anything kind of including the whole, right? And homeopathy is a specific system. So this is the founder of it. He was a German physician, uh, spoke 10 languages, so sounds like a pretty intelligent man. He actually left practice to become a translator because he was frustrated with the system of medicine at the time, which was doing some pretty harsh techniques. And while he became this medical translator, he started doing some experimentation and some observation, and he found that if a substance was taken um, at a high dose, it would create a certain symptom, but at a very low dose, it would actually create the opposite. So the example here is the bark. I don't know how to pronounce that. Cinchona bark, which is the source of quinine, which is used to treat malaria. And if you take that in a large dose, it can make you have the kind of feverish feeling of malaria. But at a diluted dose, it will be helpful to that. So he went on to test many, many substances in this way. And that was sort of how homeopathy was developed. So it's a pretty interesting story. Another figure in the history of homeopathy was Dr. Reykjavik, also German, was a medical doctor. So this is just kind of a bit of a second generation homeopath. Started a company called Heal that you may have heard of. It was more present in the US. That's a kind of a side story about the history of homeopathy here in the US. Um, but he kind of went on to really develop, especially these combination remedies, whereas classical homeopathy is usually one remedy at a time. We'll talk more about that. Combination remedies cover a lot of bases at once. So he made 1,000 different combination remedies. And he also developed a theory called homotoxicology. It talks about the stages of illness potentially when a body is exposed to a toxin, an internal or environmental toxin. So, as we talk a little bit about detox today, I really have found his theory super interesting. So, if we say, at the end of disease is potentially terminal, right? If you have something like cancer or you have a stroke, it's like, how did that all develop over time? And that's something in our modern culture I don't think we're putting together very well. And I meant to put in a graphic about the six stages, but I forgot. So I'll have to do that next time. But I think it's just a really interesting theory that applies to us now as well. So that's Dr. Reykjavik on the left. And then someone who worked for Heal was named Dr. Bruce Shelton. And when Heal left the United States, he came to Desbio. So kind of a direct link, really, between this theory. He was a medical director of Desbio until he passed away. And now our medical director is here on the right, Dr. Todd Rowe. Super amazing guy. You can almost just tell from the picture. He is a psychiatrist or psychologist. I can't remember which. That was his first training, and then he became a homeopath. So he has a real sensitivity towards especially these mental emotional remedies that we'll talk about today. So we won't get deep into this, but these are some of the concepts of homeopathy. We talked a little bit about the like cures like, but there's some other concepts in there we'll touch on a little bit. One thing I enjoy about it is what they call the planes of healing. So what's happening on the physical plane, the emotional plane, the mental plane, and the energetic plane. And again, as I said in my introduction, I think we are focusing too much on the physical plane and not even acknowledging something sometimes like the energetic plane. So it's kind of taking it back to including all those things. So the materials can really be any number of materials. Um, I think people think of them as only plant, but they're actually not only plant. I think there's a heavy amount of plant, but there are also some pretty unusual uh, materials, and you'll see like a paraben and different, even like man-made chemical toxins. They can turn into a homeopathic. It's just teaching your body to respond to those things. So some of the concept that's a bit confusing is that you're not getting a dose of the thing. You're getting just an imprint of the thing. So even with the mold detox that we'll talk about here soon, I've already gotten the question, well, like, isn't it bad for me to like put mold into me? But you're not really putting mold into you per se. First, it's like a very denatured material. And second, it's super, super diluted. So it's just more to like show your body this is what we're working on potentially along with other materials that give your body certain messages. So a couple words that might be new to you are sarcodes and nosodes. So sarcodes would be an organ tissue that's used to again build that aspect of the body, and nosodes are the waste product of a pathogen that's teaching your body how to fight that pathogen. So homeopathics are very diluted, and this image gives a little bit about how the dilutions work and the proportions. But again, the concept is the more it's diluted, the stronger it is, so to speak. And at Dust Bio, they take actual material and hand shake it or pound it to make the dilution, whereas some energetic formulas at this stage of history are made from just an energetic imprint and not an actual material anymore. I don't know if that's making sense to you. Um, So here's a little bit about how the dilutions are named that you may see on a bottle. And so the lower dilutions sort of act at a more basic level, whereas the higher potencies that are in the higher Cs, so the higher 1 to 100 dilutions are more energetic and working more on those energetic planes. And another term you may hear is homochord, which is the same substance diluted at different levels because the body may want to kind of grab on to the dilution at a physical level versus, a more energetic level. So Desbio has quite a bit of homochords within its ranks. So if you've heard a bit about kind of classical homeopathy, again, it's usually only one substance. It could be to remedy one single thing. I can remember a point where my son was little and he had an ear infection, and we went to the naturopathic college and they gave him a single remedy. I'm not gonna remember what it is right now, but it was for ear infection, and I think he was better in like half an hour. It was nuts. Um, and then there's constitutional homeopathy, where you'll talk to an homeopath for an hour and a half or 3 hours, and they'll get a sense of who you are as a person and your symptoms, and they'll give you a single remedy to match that. So that's kind of a classical approach. Combinations cover more bases. And one thing I think is cool is to compare them to Chinese herbal formulas, which I studied in school, and those pretty much always are a group of herbs, and they have different functions like to drain or to go to a certain meridian or to create balance in the formula. So when done in the right hands, these combination formulas can be really beautiful and really powerful. So here's just an example of one combination remedy and what all is in it and why. This is a formula called Anxious, and it can be used acutely or more over time for anxiety. So it has, well, many of the combinations have about 20 ingredients. And this one is obviously kind of for mood, so they're all a little similar, but work in different ways. So whatever your body is needing for its own anxiety, it's going to kind of take what it needs. And if some of the ingredients aren't a total match, it's just not gonna be as influenced by those. Okay, so moving on to detox. A few options within NestBio are one is called the Comprehensive Detox and Drainage Kit. It's this kit with 6 bottles in it you see on the left-hand side. And then the second detox kit is called Omni Cleanse, and it uses those 6 bottles plus 2 more supplements you see over on the right there. So the first option is fully homeopathic, and we're going to cover more of that today. And the second 2 products are more nutritional and herbal. So one thing that Bio likes to do is approach things on 3 levels: physical, energetic, emotional. And there's some efficacy to approaching kind of any problem, any health problem that way. So doing the Omni Cleanse will give you more of the physical side of things. I'm doing the homeopathic is more like energetic. Yeah, it's still quite detoxifying, but it's not adding any sort of ingredients like the Omni Cleanse powder and capsules will. And I'll show you some other remedies as well, like single remedies for detox. And I will also show you a new kit that came out called the MEM kit, MEM Detox and Drainage, which again, if we're considering the body as a whole, whoops, it's not just physically we're preparing to detox and drain, it's also potentially mentally and emotionally we're getting prepared as well. So in Bio, and I'm sure you've heard this from other practitioner trainings as well, you want to prep the body for detox. So you don't want to just push the body to detox and mobilize toxins unless it can handle getting those toxins out. Or you're not going to feel well, and toxins can really just recirculate to another part of the body, give you a lot of symptoms. So I always like to do something to get your body ready. One thing to emphasize is that using homeopathy is very gentle for the most part because there's not the actual substance for your body to react to. It's just the energetic. So you're not going to have the same kind of like potentially allergic type reaction, generally speaking. When we ran this cleanse as a group in June, I think, I had a lot of people feel really nervous about doing it because they've had a lot of bad reactions in the past. And I will say that I have some quotes here. It's gentle. Uh, these are a couple quotes from the cleanse group once we were done. So I totally empathize with feeling like, oh gosh, I'm afraid to try something new. What if it makes me sick? What if it doesn't work? You can always change the dosage with the drops, right? Or start with, less product or what have you. But you've got to start somewhere, and this can be a very gentle way to go about it. So I'm going to go over the 6 formulas in this particular kit and then go over some individual ones. And all of these 6 can be ordered individually as well. Is anybody on this? If you did the cleanse, I'd love for you to share in the chat about it. So the way this cleanse works is you take a certain set of drops, 3 remedies for 3 days, and then you pulse into the next set of drops for 4 days, and it goes back and forth like that. And once the body's gotten used to that, you can add on more layers. So this one is called Cerebromax. This is one of my favorite formulas that I've tried so far. When I was on the detox, I'm pretty sure it was this formula that gave me a big sense of clearing in the front of my head and brain. I don't totally even know what happened. Maybe it was detoxing my frontal lobe. I'm not sure. But it helps your neurotransmitters in the brain. So it just helps with like reaction, brain fog. It's good for preventative for healthy aging. So it's a really great formula. We have to detox the brain, very important organ. We detox a lot of that at night. So this formula is supportive of the brain tissue and neurotransmitters and drainage. So it's pretty fantastic. You can imagine a pretty fantastic way to prep the body for detox. And this guy is called Spinal Max. So it helps communication between the brain and the rest of the body. It can also be used potentially for actual spinal issues, and not holding an adjustment is one of the indications as well. This guy I really like. It's called Matrix Support. So when you see different detoxes advertised, I've never seen this aspect really advertised before. And I think this is something you'll see more of as time goes by. So we have this extracellular matrix. Sometimes it's called substance or ground substance. It's like the fluid that isn't part of anything else, so to speak. But it's not exactly lymph. It's just the fluid between cells and between tissues. And you can imagine that if your body is holding on to toxins, it's holding on there. It's hanging out there. It's trapped there. It's probably also trapped there when you have an injury or kind of poor posture or you've got areas of your body that are tight. Definitely, if you're, overloaded with toxins from mold, this system is going to be holding some of that. So I think this is a really unique and cool product that is supportive of your fascia and that fluid in your body that we don't really pay attention to. So those are the first three, and then we move on to what's called Detox 1, 2, and 3. Detox 1 is a bit for liver, not a bit, it's quite a bit for liver, for bile flow, um, for kind of getting that any kind of sluggishness in the liver moving, good for chemical sensitivity, which can be related to a sluggish liver. And also, there are three types of tissue when we develop as an embryo at like week 3 of development. Let's see if I can remember all this. There's three types of tissue. One will be like endothelial tissue, one will be organs, one will be connective tissue. And detox 1, 2, and 3, they all treat that type of tissue. So this is like, I wish I had double checked this before here at hand, but this is one type of tissue clearance. And then detox 2 is another type of tissue clearance, especially supporting kidney and urinary drainage, which is, I think, a little ignored too, right? A lot of our toxins are leaving through the kidney urine system, including mycotoxins. It's not all just coming out in the stool. So that's detox 2 and detox 3, lymphatic, respiratory. But again, a different type of, I think this is the one for the more the endothelial tissue detox. Any of these can be taken individually, but you can see how they're all working together as a system. You can also just take a single detox product. So the one here on the left, systemic drainage, I think could be a great starting point. It's just making sure the drainage is flowing on all these systems, lymphatic and digestive and urinary, so that if you were to go into detoxing, at least we know, okay, these are open. So for some of you guys listening today, you've already done a lot of detox. So if you don't want to do like a big detox kit, I would prefer you did. But if you wanted to do a single thing or you just wanted to kind of test the waters, you could start with like systemic drainage to kind of cover everything, or a couple here in the middle are for lymph. So the one called lymph spleen, I've just found to be interesting. It's kind of for like kind of water retention, poor appetite, fatigue, just kind of like a sluggish fluid movement and digestion. And then the third one there is called lymph drainage. That's a very popular formula for us. This fourth one is GI drainage, which can be really nice for if you tend towards like constipation or kind of that back and forth constipation. And then I threw in at the end here an intestinal restorer. I think that might be our number one selling product. it also can be very nice to smooth out constipation and digestive issues. So is high in colostrum for one thing. So I just kind of threw that in there as an idea. So one question that came up on the cleanse group we did was what exactly does this detox? And there are a couple things that specifically detox, but it's more of like a prep for your whole body. If you want to detox things in particular, here are some options. And I'm sorry, this picture is kind of fuzzy, but there's a really interesting formula on the left here called EMF Protect and Balance. That's for like radiation and X-ray. I'm definitely going to buy that for when I fly. But if you feel like that's an area you're sensitive in, that's a product for that. This Milax is an anti-inflammatory herb. Chemtox is one for, yeah, chemical sensitivity, liver stuff. And the Cleanse is especially for pesticides, herbicides, and the food sensitivities that can come along with that. This is a binder here in the middle and a liposomal biocese. So those are just some examples. If you wanted to detox a certain chemical element, there's options out there. But also just generally supporting the body to work better and be more efficient goes a long way. Okay, moving on to mental emotional detox and drainage. This is a new product from Nesbio, super cool. Well, I want to explain it a little bit. Uh, so technically emotions are short-lived, but we can get stuck in the story about the emotions bringing up, and we can block our healing, right? When we're kind of stuck in a belief system that's not serving us. The mind detox and drainage is a little more like obsessive thinking. It's more about the actual like brain and intellect. So it can be about the physical brain, but also just thought patterns that are stuck. And the third one here, multiple miasm, is super interesting, more from historical homeopathy. They identified 10 things, 10 kind of patterns in the body when someone can't heal. It's like a block to healing. And those are the more historical genetic patterns. And they sound really obscure, like things like syphilis and things like that. Um, but just kind of put that to the side. They're meant it's a very historic way to treat blocks to healing. So if you feel like you're getting stuck in some way, this kit or this one product could be helpful for you. So this product, I have not taken all these together to tell you what my experience is yet. I will definitely be there, but I'll tell you about my experience with some of the formulas on the next page. So there are quite a few mental emotional formulas with Desbio. This one on the left, motivation, I like a lot. It's great if you're starting your workday and you're just like dragging and you're not in the mood. It's kind of like a low level funk or depression, or just you have a lot to do and you're not in the mood. So this one pairs with Epstein-Barr virus, which a lot of people with mold have, just kind of that lack of energy. So it's certainly not like caffeine or anything, but it just can kind of stimulate you a little bit. Second is grief, which is pretty self-explanatory. But if you're grieving, we always think of a death of a loved one, but grief can also be from a change of life that you weren't planning on, that you weren't expecting. Grief can be from a lot of things. So that's a formula that can be helpful if you're stuck in that feeling. Rage is a formula that we sometimes use with kids with autism, ADHD. But rage can come from a lot of things. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you feel perhaps you went through like a betrayal and you're feeling, a lot of strong feelings about that, that can be a formula just to help your body process intense feelings. Anxious is our number one seller in the mental emotional realm because a lot of people are anxious nowadays. We talked about the ingredients of that before. And it doesn't mean that you'll have to take these things forever. It's more about getting you through a phase or even a moment of that day. So moving on to sort of more advanced detox are these SSR kits. So it means series symptom relief. And I'm actually taking one of these kits right now. So I brought some products to show you. But the idea is once you've done some baseline healing, and you're kind of out of mold, like I mentioned to Stephanie before we started, when you're in a space to actually do some deeper cleansing, we offer some different pathogen kits to clear pathogens. And these are pretty unique formulas. I really hadn't been familiar with them until I got familiar with Bio. So this image is sort of a blank example kit, but all the kits are similar. They all have silver, which is nano silver, which is really potent for virus, bacteria. It helps kind of break down their cell walls and just disable them. This particular example is showing a little liposomal antioxidant. Usually there's going to be a mental emotional formula in the kit for whatever emotion tends to come with that pathogen. And it can be altered, but I mentioned motivation goes with the EBV kit because when you're having Epstein-Barr virus, you're often really, really tired and it's hard to get through the day. It might be hard to take your supplements. So it's just giving you a little support along the way. And then there'll be some products in there for the symptoms that could come up as you're cleansing the pathogen. So I don't know if you can see my face right now or just my screen. Um, I'll show you guys. Maybe I'll show you this later because I've got some doodads to show you is how these kits look. But the idea with these is those boxes over to the right, you have 10 vials inside that help your body work towards fighting or addressing a certain pathogen, and they get stronger and stronger, which means they get more diluted, but stronger, and then they come back down again. So it's a 2 month supply, and you take a little vial every few days. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mia. So you can see me. So, so these are what the little vials look like. So I'm about to take my ninth vial of the first box. And this has no sods. We learned that earlier of Epstein-Barr virus. And then this is number 10. And this is their the support remedy for the Epstein-Barr kit. So if I start having symptoms of Epstein-Barr come out as I am clearing it, this can help address those symptoms. So I will tell you, this kit, don't play. Like this kit is strong. They say you won't necessarily react to every vial. I've reacted to, I mean, most of them. And I still can function. My day is fine, but kind of the middle of the night to the morning, I'll feel kind of like restless and hot, which is how I'll feel when I have an Epstein-Barr flare-up. But then when I wake up, it's like, okay. So for me, yeah, I really need to hit this guy. I really like the silver, which I ran out of. So there's a little bit of tweaking here on this screen. You can see there's a formula they have called Herx that actually helps you with those reactions. There are other ways to do it. You can do it you can spread it out and just take one a week. So there's some, or you could even half the bottle. I'm just trying to basically, I've slowed it down a little bit lately, but mostly I'm just trying to get through it because I still feel, okay in the daytime. And I'm just thrilled to be getting rid of this EBV or putting it into deep remission because I've been dealing with it so many years. So after this 2 month journey I'm on, then there's like a remedy I take once a week for a longer period of time. We won't get into that, but I just wanted to show you that a little bit about how these kits work. There's quite a few. There's like 20, 30 kits, and there's more coming out, including mold. There's Candida, which we talked about before we went live. There's a couple different kinds of herpes. EBV is a type of herpes. There's Valley Fever Kit, which is pretty awesome. There's Mycoplasma pneumonia. So there's quite a bit. So if you feel or you know from testing that chronic infections have been weighing you down, this is a way to address it. So these are a little advanced, but I wanted to get you familiar with everything. A great place to start is to just start with systemic drainage or start with a mental emotional formula. I think it's helpful to let your body get familiar with how homeopathy feels so that if you do go into a stronger kit, it's sort of ready. That's my feeling on it. Oh, this is my last slide. So this is a QR code to our shop. It's always a little tough. It's hard for me to put a lot of links in the chat while I'm talking, but I'm going to send you after the webinar um, a PDF with different links to products I talked about and um, some of the points we made today. But again, just hoping to kind of get you familiar with the big picture and happy to take some questions. Yeah, Mia said is she gets overwhelmed. Yeah, I know. It's a lot and I'm really sensitive to most of my audience has tried a lot and it's a lot of money. Things haven't always worked like they planned. So this is a little bit why I'm adding more calls in the group coaching because I want people to be able to try things little by little and get comfortable. So yes, Julie, I think you asked before I got into it. We do have a Candida kit and a mold kit. You can also potentially do some of the smaller I say, so to speak, a smaller like mold tincture that's not the 2 month thing. If you're feeling very nervous, that could be a place to start. I can't remember the name of that one offhand, but if you don't want to dive into the 2 month kit, you could start with just the mold drops. You can start with just one a day and make sure you're in a place to tolerate those. And then if you are, move on from there. So, good question. Any other questions? Susan said, can you do the MEM along with Omni Cleanse Detox and Drainage Kit, or is that too much at once? Hmm. I actually think you could do it. Yeah. I would just, the Omni Cleanse does require a bit of a special diet, as you might have seen from the testimonials. The special diet isn't that hard if you already eat a pretty clean diet. Um, but yeah, just be prepared that you're going to be doing a thing, right? You're going to be following this Omni Cleanse instructions, and there's a little pulsing the MEM kit is really easy. You just take, let me think how it goes. I think I think in the morning you take one thing, midday you take so there's three in the kit, right? So I think every day, morning, noon, and night, you take one of the three. So you'll take, for instance, mind in the morning, miasm at lunch, and emotion at bedtime. So it's pretty easy. You may have some increased dreaming. I'm not a big dreamer, but I am now, thanks to Death Bio. So you might be processing some things in your dreams. You might want to leave more time in your schedule for like journaling, being in nature, doing some breath work, but nothing's bad, right? Things are just getting dislodged and moving. So if you're feeling up to that, go for it. I would say, get that mental, emotional drainage going, get the physical drainage going. I think that combination alone is really profound. Like, I think those things on their own say a lot, and then you can just kind of reassess where you're at. So, good question. Lynn, taken away from foods and meds, she asked. So the drops you usually put in your mouth or in plain water. You can't put them in like coffee or something like that. Uh, yeah, technically they should be about maybe even just 10 minutes away from like coffee and food. But we were just talking about this this morning. Like, it's say you're running out the door and you just had coffee and you forgot to take your homeopathics, just take them. Like, it's not going to ruin it. So I think it can become a barrier and we don't want it to become this big, big barrier. As far as meds, the drops themselves won't be any problem because they're just basically like these energetic drops in water. So the thing about why they don't say, don't have it with toothpaste, don't have it with coffee is like just it would throw off this like energetic formula, but it's not, yeah, don't let that stop you is the only thing I'd say. Liz, yeah, I will send out the replay. Uh, Deborah said most people have mold at home. You mean like they've been exposed to mold in their homes, Deborah? Yeah, Julie, let me see if I can pull up that mold tincture for you real quick. But if I can't find it quickly, I will send it um, in the notes afterwards. Okay, I found it already. It's called Mold Plus. Wait, maybe make sure this is the right one. Yeah, this is it. Mm, yeah, this is it. So this will help you with some of the mold symptoms and it will help you fight or detox from mold. One second. So I just put that product uh, in the chat. Mia, yeah, that's a great question. So there are definitely a lot of products for hormones. I'm not sure if they come in a kit as much as one by one, but let me do a screen share and I'll show you. So what I found from doing the hormone drops is they're a little on the slow acting side. They don't work as fast as the mood drops are going to work really fast. So they're really like teaching your body to start building hormones, and that's a bit of a slow process till you're actually feeling the difference. But I don't want to like discredit it. I'm just saying like just take your drops and be patient. In about a month, you'll start to feel something, and then like 3 months, you'll probably feel a lot. Deborah, the mole kit is coming out in September, but it's kind of you're welcome, Liz. It may sell out right away. It's kind of silly, but maybe I can send you guys a notice when it comes out so that you don't miss it. Yeah, I agree. So I'm on some HRT and which is hormone replacement therapy. I mean, I'm thankful for it, but it's also just a pain to have to be prescribed something and buy it at a pharmacy and blah, blah, blah. So I like the idea potentially of homeopathy taking over my hormone care. I think it's okay to like double it up if there's a picture of one called hormone combination. So I think it's okay to double it up if you are on hormone replacement It's not so strong that it's gonna like throw you off or anything. And you're never gonna be in excess with taking homeopathics for hormones. So you don't have to worry about that aspect. So this product I just picked to show you because it covers a lot of bases, adrenal, blood sugar, testosterone, estrogen, and I'm pretty sure it actually can be used for men or women. Yeah, it can because it's just balancing all the hormone groups. And it's not gonna, if you're a male, make you make more estrogen. It's just gonna take what it needs. So it just covers a lot of bases without spending as much money as if you bought everything one by one. So here's the ingredients in this one. And this is what I mentioned earlier about things being a home accord. So they're in different concentrations, and you can see there's homeopathic progesterone, testosterone, cortisone, FSH, dopamine, DHEA. This is super interesting, actually. Uh, so it just takes a little while for your body to, for you to actually notice symptom-wise. But I do think it works. And I'm still pretty new to Desk Bio, so I've only taken one bottle of this. I don't even think I finished my first bottle. I also take one that's a growth hormone, and I think I can feel that one too. It's like subtle though. There's one for thyroid. It's called Energize. So there's quite a few out there. I have the growth hormone, I have this one, and I have Energize. So let's see. Oh, cool, Mia. You're using some essential oils. Yeah. Um, I think there was a question from Deborah. Yeah, you can take them under your tongue, but if you don't like that, you can put them in water. It just has to be plain water. If you have a problem with, there is some alcohol in the formulas. So if you have a problem with that, you could put it in boiled water. Brianna said, for the 6 vial kit, are those drops energetics as well or more so the micro exposure? I think you mean the 6 detox bottles. Those are all homeopathics. I don't think I know totally what your question is, though. But those are all homeopathic drops, and they're kind of prepping the body for detox, gently helping the body detox, and then they kind of flip-flop in clear again, prep again, and then this lets the detox go a little deeper. Yeah, let me show you the. It is super interesting, Deborah. I know. I feel like this stuff isn't going to be for everyone because it's a lot to learn, but it's super interesting stuff to learn. I'll show you the thyroid one real quick. So they have a few thyroid products. They're some of the top sellers. They have one that's a glandular herbal one, and then they have a couple different drop options. So I will just show you the drops since we're talking more about homeopathy today. And then maybe we'll wrap up here. So this is the Energize. And usually when you look, okay, so when you see this, well, shoot, this is my back end, so it's going to look a little different for me. Um, but if you put it, yeah, yeah, you may have to go to like hormones and then thyroid, but it may take a little looking around to see all the different options for thyroid or estrogen or whatever, but you can get there. So this is the Energize. That's the thyroid homeopathic. So I've been taking that one as well. Yeah, well, basically it is for hypothyroid, but I think that's more predominant, right? But it's again, it's balancing. So it could be balancing for either condition, potentially. That's a good question, though. I would say it's more for hypothyroid, but I would have to do some investigation. It may be just sort of balancing for any thyroid condition. I would say people don't stay in hyperthyroid that long because things start really going crazy and then you have to you end up going into the hospital or your body shifts to hypo after some time. No, I wouldn't say I'm actually doing the Energize and taking thyroid meds right now. Kind of with the idea of, can I later kind of get off my thyroid meds? But it's just an experiment at this point. I can't say either way where this experiment is headed. I'm excited though that I am treating my EBV because EBV really grows in the thyroid. It kind of stays dormant there and it's using that thyroid energy. So I'm hoping as my EBV goes down, my thyroid gets stronger, but it's already been affected by being sick and having autoimmunity. So I'm not totally sure if I can get to the point where I don't need thyroid medication. But I'm doing that experiment, right? It may take some time to fully get past this EBV and do some of this extra thyroid support, and then we'll see. Oh, yeah, great. So Mia got off her thyroid meds. That's awesome. She's doing well with that. Yeah, so Deborah, there's a Candida kit, and you can just kind of search it in my shop. Um, but it just, yeah, it's just like the other things we mentioned. There's also a product that's really great for biofilm, which I think is important for doing something like a Candida kit. And I'm doing it right now, kind of on and off for my EBV kit too, but it's called Transzyme. It's called liposomal Transzyme. So I'll put that in the chat for you. But I think that's a really good one if you are dealing with Candida because it's so stubborn. Even could be good for you, Stephanie, dealing with the persistent mold and the Marcons, because where is that stuff hiding? It may be hiding in the biofilm. So Transzyme is a liposomal you'll take on an empty stomach. And let me just give you that Candida link. Uh, well, thanks for being here today, everyone. I really enjoyed it. Oh, that's interesting. So the Candida Clear Kit is a little different and has more digestive products included with it. Hmm, that's kind of cool. Awesome. Well, you're welcome, Mia. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I mean, I definitely was really, really sick and made a lot of progress. So I am happy to share my story with you guys. Um, yeah, Becky, I've heard of the hydrogen for pots actually just recently, but I haven't used it myself, but I have heard about that. Also, our mineral drops are great for pots and really just everything we talked about, right? Because that's getting to the root cause of everything. Okay, and you guys are welcome to email me when I email you the replay. If I missed, if you have a new question, feel free to let me know. But otherwise, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate you showing up. We'll be in touch. Bye, everybody.